Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and this is part of the Terrible Terrain series. And today we're going to talk about toll roads.
And with us is me, Nerdruckus Dave.
And I'm Nerdruckus Ted.
And we got our special guest, Scott. Before we get into that, head down to the description below where you can find Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So let me kind of bring this one in a little bit more. So over the last 2 days, I went to Boston and I rode my bicycle all over Boston, and then I went to Connecticut and visited some covered bridges on my bicycle. And so I went through a lot of toll roads while I was out there. And so I was thinking about Dungeons and Dragons when I was thinking about toll roads. And I thought toll roads are a great terrain because there's so much that can happen. So I had a few ideas about...
Isn't it weird where we get these inspirations from? And
it is amazing,
makes us think about gaming?
It's really wild, isn't it? You're right. And it's also nice, too, that, D&D's kind of in my head almost all the time. It's like, so your players come across this. So these are just different ideas that you can use with your, with the toll road. With
so
your
essentially,
player
they're encounters.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And all the different ways you can slice a toll road into different encounters. So your players come across a toll road, and there are toll guards there, and they represent the authority of the Constable of Silver Warnst. It's just a town that's there, and they have a 15-mile road, and they say, hey, to the player characters, if you're going to traverse this road, you have to pay 10 gold pieces. So right there, it's the most simple.
Now, the other thing I will say, that is way too high because commoners could never go across that road.
Yeah, that's a great...
Only nobility, and that's so much that it would actually be cheaper for the nobility to hire guards to kill those guys, and even if they took losses, hire new guys, and it would be a humongous savings on their part.
So you're absolutely right. You could scale that down to 1 gold piece, right?
Or silver.
Well,
copper,
yeah,
it depends.
But actually, one of the things I think is interesting is you actually nailed one of the scenarios below. I actually have player characters are requested to pay 1 gold piece. They do. They give their gold piece up, right? And this is what this is one of the ways that you can slice it as a GM. So if they say, "Yeah, here's your gold piece," right? Then immediately following them, the players are only 50, 100 feet out, and they're walking away. A poor family comes across and they say, "Hey, you got to pay your 1 gold piece," and the family says, "Well, we don't have that," and then they're turned away, and the player characters can hear that. And so one of the things I really like to have in encounters is a choice for the player characters. Right. So the player characters, there's nothing wrong with their interaction with the guards. They've paid their 1 gold piece and they're going on. And the only thing there in that encounter is this poor family. They have to walk around. And I think there's some groups where that'll be nothing. They'll be like, "Oh, too bad for them." Yeah. Well, I mean, but there are others who,
if you present them with a moral quandary, if you will, it gives them, okay, well, how does this speak to the nature of your character?
Yeah, absolutely.
And D&D is not always about, hey, let's go from one encounter to the next. There's decisions, and characters have growth. And what happens if you have a party where treasure is divided, communally, and you have a moral set that are very different. So the paladin is like, well, I want to go back and help them, and the fighter is like, well, we have a deadline, we need to be somewhere.
Exactly.
It's like, well, what do you do?
Yeah, it's a great point. And also, do they pay that out of their own pocket? What happens at that point? So those are. I got a couple more, but I'll let you guys jump in. Any other ideas?
So okay, some things do come to mind. Like I would think like the township where this is happening, maybe like the local officials issue writs, and like if you don't have the writ, you have to pay the toll, or the toll's much higher, because it would essentially shut down commerce, if you can't get through, which is bad for it's actually bad for the town you're going to as well, or maybe it could also be like these are the safest roads in the land because of these taxes.
Right, exactly.
Because it goes back into paying soldiers to patrol and make sure there's no bandits and highway people and things of that nature. But I would definitely, I think you'd almost have to create like this tiered system where like basically you would apply for permits, right? So like if you're someone that travels this road often, maybe you get a deep discount or even free depending on how the politics work.
Right.
And there could also be a whole adventure around that, like about maybe the common folk rising up because these wealthy merchants are allowed to go through for free. But the commoners, the farmers or whatever, are being charged, 5 copper pieces or whatever. But it's whatever it is, it's a lot.
It's a lot for them.
It's a lot for them,
exactly.
even though it might be nothing for something else. And maybe like there's a provision for adventurers, right? Where look, the guards look at you, they're trained, they're like, oh, that's definitely an adventurer, and they do charge 10 gold pieces.
Yeah.
Because
They hike it up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well,
like airplane pricing.
yeah. Well, yeah, because with good cause too, because adventurers oftentimes bring trouble with them.
Yeah. Oh, no question.
You never know what kind of curse magic items they're going to be distributed in your town. You never know. Always bar fights seem to break out. Spells go awry. Like these are things that just don't happen when adventurers are not around.
I literally know that my own player character is responsible for at least 3 inns burning to the ground. I can't even remember how many. So you're absolutely right. Player characters are
Dave,
adventurers.
you brought up another point. What's to say that these toll collectors aren't actually highwaymen? Like they're doing it as a ruse.
It's amazing that you actually bring that up, Scott.
Yes, that's exactly right.
It's one of the things.
That is actually one of the ones I wrote down. Is they come across exactly the same. So that's another way you can slice it. So they come across people collecting a toll, and by an investigation roll, it can become clear. There could be little clues that these are not authorized guardsmen. These are not. They don't have the authority of the local constable, and they are highwaymen. And then you have the decision of, do they pay 1 simple gold piece to not have an encounter, right? To not bloody their sword, or do they cut them down right there
and hope they've gotten paid by other people?
Exactly.
Before.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like when you actually first brought this up, I'm like, I don't know, is this a very interesting topic for us to talk about? And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, actually, yeah, this is definitely an interesting way to go, especially when I read through everything you had, because Scott had Facebook messaged us a detailed synopsis of ideas for videos, and this one in particular, there was several different ways to go, and it made me think. Like I remember listening to a radio program, and they were talking about turnpikes and how that came about. Now I don't know if this is actually true or not. I didn't research it before I got on here, but I'm going to spout it anyway because it's kind of cool. It's actually an old term because they would put a pike across the roadway, and if you didn't pay the toll, they wouldn't turn the pike so you could go in.
Right. Yeah.
So you could continue to travel. So it's it is a fairly old concept if that's accurate, because I'm pretty sure they stopped using pikes quite some time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And and it's interesting because I went through so many tolls, and I just realized how much happens at each one of those junctures and how important roads are to travel. One of the things I think is really interesting is you were explaining about how, different people would have different rights to travel on those roads. And so I really like to be able to give my player characters different types of treasure. And so that actually could be a different treasure. So normally you're always handing out gold pieces, or you might hand out a spell. But one of the ideas is you could give out a writ. So one of the local, houses, or a baron or a nobleman could say, "This is a writ, and it gives you the right to travel these roads for free." And then they could just take out that paper and say, "Here's a writ. We get to travel for free." And
and it is far more interesting to give out things like that than always giving out the stand of treasure.
Exactly.
And I like doing that whenever I can, is thinking of cool ways to reward your players in game. So in that case, maybe they don't make profit, but they save money.
Definitely. So I had a couple more here. So we talked through that, and then and then one of the ones is so the player characters come to a toll road, right? And so they're and when they approach, they expect to see guards, but all the toll guards are murdered. And you can see that their coin purses have been cut off. Like you can see the strings are still on the belt, and so they realize this toll road setup has been
compromised.
Compromised. There's two guards there, they're dead. And then if they have a ranger there, an investigate roll will show, they were only here like 15-20 minutes ago. They're probably 2 miles down the road. And so right there they realize, there's been a murder here. These men were collecting tolls. The gold has been stolen, and those murderers are just 2 miles down the road.
So
and
there's from my viewpoint, there's 3 different things that the players could do at this very moment. They can continue on with their path as if nothing happened. They can go investigate the would-be robbers, or murderers, I should say, as well as heading back to town to let the town know that, number one, that this atrocity has happened, that it can be looked into, but they need to get more people out there, and more people out there.
Right, exactly, yeah, and it's in those guards people, they're husbands and sons of people in the town,
right?
So it affects them. And
I think you're missing number 4 though.
Oh, what is
they could hide the bodies, strip them, and then take over as toll guards. Apparently, it's very lucrative in that area.
You really do play with those cardboard fortress people guys a lot. I think that's why that would come to your head.
Well,
we have different players.
Wow, Dave. Just wow.
I'm just saying, it's an option. This is D&D.
Yep.
So
you're correct, Dave.
Yeah, my last idea for toll roads was specifically so basically they come to the toll road and they're asked for a gold piece, right? And so they're asked for a gold piece, and they give up their gold piece, and then at the same time the next guy comes up, single swordsman, and they can tell by the way his armor is excellent armor.
He's like a professional duelist.
Exactly. Yeah, this guy he's probably killed more people than he can remember. He comes across and he says, "No, I'm not paying this," and it becomes clear to them that he is going to cut these guys down before he pays that toll. And so by his speech, it's starting to escalate, and it's clear to them that there's going to be a fight, right? And so right there, the player characters have to say, okay, it's clear to these player characters this swordsman is going to easily kill these two guardsmen. Right. And so they have to decide, do they defend those guardsmen? Do they witness them being slain? Or and so
pay
they
the
have
toll?
to make, or they pay. That's true. They could pay the toll.
But and then the problem is they pay the toll. What's going to happen the next time this guy goes through?
Exactly.
On a different toll road or something like that. So so to wrap this up, unless you got anything else to say, Ted,
it's it.
No, I'm good.
You've got a plot hook. You've got 2 different types of moral dilemmas. You have an encounter, and several encounters. So there's a lot of different ways that this can go. It can be just pure role playing, and it can be a bunch of role playing that leads into an encounter. Yeah. It can be the start of a new adventure.
It can be role playing that they hear rumors or clues or things that, as the DM, you want to put some information out there that might be true, it might be false. And here's a way of, hey, guys who are on the road, they hear lots of things from travelers. So here's another waypoint that you can be able to insert those type of those bits of dialogue.
And let's not forget, there still is the lucrative career as a toll guard.
There's one more. So
background
D&D 5e, they're always encouraging us to think about the 3 pillars of the play, which is interaction, combat, and exploration. And in the toll road, you can have encounters that are all 3 of those. So you can have encounters that are simply interactions. You have encounters that are combat. And I hadn't thought about it, but you can have an encounter that's exploration. If they decide to go and say, we need to warn the town about this, they might not have even seen that town before, or they could look up and see where the smoke was coming from, and that's an opportunity for that encounter to turn into exploration. Right. So it's really
not only that though, even just the actual location itself,
is new.
So it's exploration, and there might actually be a tower there, or a set of towers there, or
or a bridge,
So there's other things that and if it's traveled enough, and people stop at the toll all the time, maybe a tavern or a roadhouse has sprung up. So there's a plethora of things that can go on there.
It can go into all 3 pillars, which is nice.
So you guys in the comments below, let us know what you think. How do you feel about toll roads? Are you using this stuff in your game? While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.